Hello, welcome to day 2 of 30 Days of Grace. And yes, for me, it is the same day that it was on day 1 for you, because that's just how I'm doing. And my second ring light is dead, and I am sad. But we are going to go on with the show because I'm tired of dealing with these ring lights. Yes, I need God's grace right now to help me through this. We'll get there. Today I'm going to be reading a story that was sent into me, and it'll be kept anonymous. It is a bit long, so I'm cutting out a little bit of some of the summarization at the end, but the story you're getting for sure. I've been a Christian all my life, but I guess I started understanding God's love for me when I was 14. I'm of Asian descent, and so there's a stereotype that all Asians are academically good at everything, but I always broke that stereotype because I had learning difficulties. I was bullied at school, and I remember coming home crying. I thought of myself as worthless and useless. I questioned whether God was there for me. Miracles were happening in other people's lives, but not in mine. At least that's what I thought. It was a Friday night, and my mom asked, "Hey, let's hang tonight. Let's just go somewhere and talk this problem out." We ended up dropping off my sister at an event at church. I remember looking outside the doors of the church and just seeing such an atmosphere where kids were skating, playing basketball, running around, pumping music, people laughing, and people just going crazy for Jesus. I found out that youth service was happening. I wanted what they had. That night, my mom shared with me my story about how the doctors wanted her to abort me because they said I wouldn't be normal. My parents prayed, and their prayers paid off. Doctors then concluded that I wouldn't be able to walk and that I would need braces on my legs. My parents went back to another season of prayer, and eventually I was able to run. Years later, my parents noticed something was wrong with me mentally, and doctors initially thought I had autism, but downgraded the diagnosis to ADHD. My mom asked me, "Are you sure God hasn't been there for you? Are you sure God doesn't love you?" That night, I also met youth leaders that cared for me and loved me for who I was. I had the revelation that God had never left me, that He is not one to forsake me. The God I was looking for was always there. I had a new perspective of His love and mercy for us. My faith in God was reignited, and nothing has ever really been the same since. I think one of the stigmas and labels on millennials in my generation is perfection with self-image. There's a lot of people out there that are hiding their true selves. They're putting on a fake facade just to show how righteous and perfect they are. They're one person on social media, but when it comes to reality, they're just broken and insecure. They're constantly after attention, constantly after love, always worried about self-image. We can never look or be perfect because we aren't meant to. It's in Christ Jesus that we are made perfect. I feel like people are all trying to be the same. They're trying to fit into the mold of society, but honestly, God is after vulnerability. I feel like people are so scared to be themselves because of what others think. God can already see right through the cracks of our fake identity. I feel like people need to know that He died for the person behind the filters. He died for me to wipe away all the labels that were thrown at me. I thought that since God died for me, I have to share who He is. I have to tell them of the God I know. Serving and sharing God could look like anything, whether it would be leading young broken teens to Christ or leading worship. If I don't serve and share of the God I know, then I count myself as a coward. I'm not saying this about anyone else, but I'm only saying this about me, because He died to bless me so that I could be a blessing to others and share of who He is. On that cross, He was bashed and humiliated for my wrongdoings. He didn't deserve it, but He did it because He died to be with us. I just think people need to know this. It breaks my heart to think that there are people out there that are killing themselves because of the stresses of life. God's best and most prized masterpiece is us. You may be seen as a freak in society, you may be isolated, you may be hurting inside, but none of the things that the world says about you compares to the words Christ has for you. Your identity is not found with what the world says about you. It is found in what Jesus says about you. What Jesus says is truth. And when we know the truth, we will be set free. The truth is you're not alone. You're a son or daughter of the Most High God. He will never leave or forsake you if you reach out to God, especially if you're broken. God takes the broken things and He makes them into a work of art. That was a really good story. I read that a few days ago and it really touched me. But it's interesting how we can go through life thinking that God just seems really far away. And if you grow up in a Christian environment, or you're in a Christian environment now, you may see all these things that people are saying that God's doing in their lives, God's doing for them, God's doing through them. And you may be thinking, well, what about me? And I identify with that because I grew up in a Christian home, and there's been many seasons where I'm just like, what about me? Just trying to figure out, like, did I miss it? And even doubting, being a Christian. But it's amazing because in the Old Testament, God talks about like writing his words on your heart, and he talks about remembering what he's done for you. And I think we can get so forgetful sometimes, or in his case, he didn't even know his full story. His mother told it to him later on, but God had been working in his life the whole time. And I think sometimes we forget that. And I do believe that is a big part. I mean, his life was so full of grace. God saved him from all these different health problems that people were saying were going to be his. But his parents prayed, and God rewarded their prayer and their faith. And I think that's amazing. So I think that is a wonderful way for us to start with the first story of the 30 Days of Grace series. I will see you tomorrow for day 3 of the 30 Days of Grace. Bye.